evening, welcome to Central News for Tuesday the 20th of May. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Bay Plenty councils are being called upon to pay up if they are serious about acting on the affordable housing measures contained in the Smart Growth Policy. The Housing Affordability Forum is asking the Western Bay of Plenty District Council to take action on the affordable housing provisions in Smart Growth. Smart Growth Bay of Plenty is a long-term growth and infrastructure study paid for and endorsed by Tauranga City, Western Bay of Plenty District and Bay of Plenty Regional Councils. The policy requires the councils to match the politicians' affordable housing talk with action this year. Bay of Plenty firefighters have raised a little more than $14,000 for charity after stepping up to complete the Firefighter Sky Tower Stair Challenge this weekend. Papamoa Volunteer Fire Brigade firefighters Glenn Beattie, John Gerbert, Pat Wilson, Greg Jensen and Cameron Manderson tackled the 51-floor climb on Auckland's Sky Tower on Saturday to raise money for Leukemia and Blood Cancer New Zealand. In its 10th year, the challenge sees more than 700 firefighters nationwide climb the iconic tower's 1,103 stairs with 25 kilos of equipment on their backs. Taking the climb for the 6th consecutive time, firefighter Pat Wilson raced up the tower in 12 minutes and 43 seconds. The Home of Cycling Trust has withdrawn its submission to Waipa District Council's 2014-15 draft annual plan. Mayor Jim Milcrest received a letter late on Friday from Trust Chief Executive Jeff Balme. The letter asked that the submission to any potential new Stage 2 developments at the Avantidrome be deferred. The Home of Cycling Trust had submitted to the draft annual plan requesting support for a new Stage 2 development at the Avantidrome. The volunteers behind the Cambridge Soccer Club were last night recognised as the supreme winners at the Trustpower Waipa District Community Awards. Over 130 people gathered at Te Ao Mutu College yesterday evening for the awards, which were presented by Mayor Jim Milcrest and Trustpower Community Relations Manager Graham Purchase. For winning the Supreme Award, the Cambridge Soccer Club received a frame certificate, a trophy and $1,500 prize money. The Cambridge Soccer Club now has the opportunity to represent the district at the 2014 Trust National Community Awards, which are being held in Wellington, March 2015. Now for our region's marine weather. West Coast, there's a southwesterly 15 knots turning Wednesday to a northwest 20 knots. The high tide in Raglan is 15:29. East Coast turning westerly 15 knots, cloud increasing in the evening. 12:24 is high tide in Tauranga. Just ahead, Buddy Day. Welcome to Central News. A successful child protection program developed in Hamilton will be centre stage at a prestigious international child abuse conference in Japan. Anthea Simcock, Chief Executive of Child Matters, spoke with Anne-Marie recently and explains more about the conference she has been asked to speak at.
Yes, it's held in September. It's an annual conference and it will attract experts in child protection from right around the world. The program involves very prestigious researchers and practitioners, and so we're absolutely chuffed, I suppose you'd say, to be part of that team. It also, I guess, lets people at home know that a homegrown program is of value and the value that it is seen internationally.
What does it mean to have Buddy Day portrayed on the international stage?
I think it shows that New Zealand, Hamilton and the Waikato as the base of Buddy Day is innovative, is creative, and can take the best international evidence and create an event that fits and contributes to the whole spectrum of child abuse prevention.
For those that don't know, explain the concept behind Buddy Day.
Yeah, well, Buddy Day is the day in which life-size buddies, as the ones that you'll be able to see behind me, are looked after for a day by leaders in the community. And we hope that the leaders in the community are those people who are not necessarily involved with children's issues. These are people for whom children and child protection is not part of their daily routine. Business people, politicians, community leaders, chief executives, and they take a buddy with them for the whole day, starting conversations, enabling people to have a conversation in a light-hearted, fun and novel way about our responsibility to look after children. And it does happen. So they take them for the whole day. And if I had had Buddy with me in this interview, I would have started the interview and said, now before I start, I'd like to introduce you to Tama or Miranda, who's my buddy, to remind us that we all have a role to play in protecting children.
Buddy Day has expanded from just Hamilton to now includes Auckland, Tauranga and Wellington, and it's been well received.
It was a big step, and we have 3 years now that we've been providing Buddy Day in Hamilton. We will work with those other communities in the next couple of years before we expand it further. We want to help really embed that in. And it's a costly exercise, I'll be honest. We don't charge people for Buddy Day. We want this to be a fun and inclusive event. And so we are limited by the funds we can get.
For more details on how to get involved, go to buddyday.org.nz. The colder months are definitely here, which means it's time we wheel out those heaters or start stocking up on the firewood. However you heat your home, you most likely wish to do it more sustainably for your pocket or the environment. I spoke with an organisation in Tauranga who helps those who are struggling with fuel poverty about why it is more important than ever to be sustainable.
Well, I think a lot of people think sustainability or sustainable is just about our environment, and it's not. It's a bigger picture. It's about people, it's about communities, it's about jobs. The environment is important as well, because if we don't look after the environment, well, the rest of it doesn't happen anyway. Well, what do you think, Nick?
Sustainability is, if we take it from the environmental point of view, then we live in a finite planet and there's more of us and we're using more. So how do we keep that going for our children's grandchildren? And that's from an environmental point of view, but from a social side, as Phil mentioned, is if we're all competing for resources, how do we get on well with one another? How do we make sure that we're living happily in the same space? And so social sustainability starts to address issues like equity and how do we make sure that there's enough to go around with all of us? So yeah, that whole issue of sustainability, finite planet, more of us on it, how are we going to deal with that?
What are you trying to teach people about sustainability with sustainability options?
When we visit people's homes and we look at sustainable living advice, we touch on 3 areas. We touch on what is the impact of what we're using on the environment, and so therefore let's make sure that we're not primarily wasting what we use. The second area we touch on is that whole area of social sustainability. What are we doing within our local community? What are we doing with regards to local employment? What are we doing with regards to our neighbours? And the third area that we touch on is best addressed, I guess, by ecological products or fair trade products. What products are we actually using and consuming, and how much thought is going into where do they come from, what are they made of, and what impact do they have after we dispose of them? So there's those 3 areas that we'll touch on when we're visiting people's homes and try to give them good advice around that.
And there is a lot of controversy over firewood and whether that's got too much of a carbon footprint and that kind of thing. What do you guys think?
Firewood is arguably carbon neutral, especially if you're getting it from what they call plantation timber. It's if you're using a clean burning fire, then it's fine for the air or the environment, and it's renewable. You can grow it again, and it's a great source of heating, and for heating, it's fantastic.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that social sustainability?
Some of the things that we're doing, for example, around social sustainability is we're running with Rotary and the DHB a heater exchange program where we're collecting in a lot of old oil-filled radiators, and then we're working with homes that are using unflue gas, and so that has a negative impact on their health, and we're looking at exchanging or replacing those, and then looking at how we help those homes with regards to their energy utilisation. Or another area we're supporting is Curtain Bank, where we collect people's unwanted curtains and we redistribute those to people that don't have curtains. So those are just a couple of examples of social sustainability, and we're working with a bunch of other community organisations.
To find out more, visit Sustainability Options website, so.org.nz. Coming up after the break, preventing suicide in Waikato. Welcome back. The Mates Men's Network is a group dedicated to saving lives and preventing suicide in men by providing forums and outlets where men can go to talk in a non-threatening, informal situation. Anne-Marie recently spoke with the patron, Sir William Gallagher, to ask about his involvement, and Constable Paul Tyrone, Prevention Constable with the Hamilton Police, to find out more about the police's involvement.
Yeah, the New Zealand Police are very focused on a prevention first strategy, which we've had rolled out throughout the country over the last couple of years, and this and my work especially is instrumental in combating crime and also helping victims. Suicide is an awful situation, and obviously they are victims, so they become a focus for us. And my work locally here in Hamilton is, I'm very driven to help men wherever we can, and with my position it allows me to connect well with the community, and so it's a good fit.
Sir William, you're patron of the Mates Men's Network. Why is this cause so important to you?
Oh, I think it affects us all. My son had colleagues that come to a tragic end, and a lot of it's preventable, and there's a real need in society, and I think this is a great cause, so I'm very happy to be patron.
The Gallagher Company is renowned for its leadership in the business world. How important is staff morale and well-being?
Oh, pretty most important. Well, we very much depend on our staff, and a lot of our sponsorships. The purpose of those is really staff and staff benefits, or raising our profile in the community, and that really all does assist.
Constable Tierney, as part of your work with the police, you must see a lot of heartbreak with the families of loved ones who have passed or taken their own lives. Tell me how this initiative is going to help men to help themselves. Yeah,
unfortunately that is true. We do see a lot of awful situations, and I'll give you a couple of examples personally. When I joined the police, a young man in his house, and having seen the carnage and just the posters of Kings of Leon on his wall, so every time I hear Kings of Leon band, I think of that young man that lost his life. And also when I began work in the Norton community suburb here in Hamilton, a 12-year-old committed suicide, and I was quite close to him and working with the family. And the family in the aftermath were very supportive of myself and them, and I was actually invited along to the tangi and also a 1-year unveiling. So when you have that connection with the whānau and families like that, it inspires you to drive on forward. So yeah, there's a lot of important work there to be done, and we can, as a police force, support organisations like this.
So William, what would you like to see happen as a result of this fantastic initiative? Oh,
I see it expanding. They're now into 8 different regions, and they've got quite a team involved. So it's a good thing, and I can see it expanding. So I think that's only to the good.
The Mates Men's Network formal launches on Friday the 13th of June at Western Community Centre, which is 46 High Street, Hamilton, from 7 to 9 p.m. To find out more about the Mates Men's Network, go to mates.org.nz. Tauranga Te Reo, our Te Reo friendly city, is the kaupapa aiming to make Tauranga the first bilingual city, including signage around Tauranga of original Māori names. I spoke with Moana Radio's Pat Spelman.
Do you think there needs to be a change in attitude that Te Reo Māori is all of New Zealand, not just tangata whenuas, before anything like this would ever be accepted by the community?
I think so, but I mean, that question should be asked to every New Zealander, and because I think Te Reo Māori belongs to everybody, regardless of whether or not you're Māori. So, that's probably answers your question. But I think the attitude probably needs to lay within those who are in charge of the future of Te Reo, and the future of the reo is going to come down to those in the privileged position of leading that that momentum moving forward. Our grasp and our future and our sort of knowledge and the value that we place on the reo is only ever going to be dictated by those who are in charge of ensuring its existence.
Do you mean youth? Who exactly do you mean?
No, I mean the government for a start. I think they need to step up and invest time, energy, resources, putia money into te reo. At the moment, it seems to be something that's just thrown into the Māori development sort of portfolio, and it's left to people who maybe don't have as much of a passion for the revitalisation and the future of our reo than maybe they should. I think there needs to be an independent body that is completely separate from the government. Maybe not a government-funded entity, but one that is funded by the iwi, because at the end of the day, that is who are in charge of ensuring that it survives locally. But these are all questions that would be better directed to people that are in charge. I'm just somebody who cares about the local landscape and how I can make a difference to everyday people.
And would you use Eastern dialect, or Tauranga dialect?
The advice that we're getting and the guidance that we'll receive from the Māori Language Commission, or Te Taura Whiria Te Reo Māori, and also from our various iwi people that are helping us ensure that the reo that we do use is relevant, accepted, and of quality. So it's going to be the correct, pronunciation and the correct sort of spelling, and the macrons will be in the right places. So, I'm not going to be writing it, so we should probably, take salvage in that. But, yeah, so no dialects, because I'm not aware of any being totally relevant, but we will ensure that what we do use is the right stuff to use.
How do you think something like this would help with the tourism dollar here in Tauranga?
For the most part, there hasn't really been an emphasis placed on how much this is going to make for Tauranga Moana in terms of a cash value, because, like I said, the thing that's been driving this entire project is based primarily on kaupapa, and you really can't put a cash value on that. How I think it will assist Tauranga, though, is helping place a cultural identity to it. What's really disappointing is the first thing that happens when you get off a cruise ship in Tauranga, and I've seen this and I've experienced this as being part of a media who were invited onto a cruise ship and got to experience how it all happens, is the first thing that happens is you walk down the ramp and you see a stand-up banner that invites you to Rotorua to experience Tamaki Village, etc. So what I would love for people to experience is the first thing they get when they walk off the ship into our city is being greeted with kia ora, so that they know they are in Tauranga Moana, they know that they're in New Zealand, and they don't have to drive an hour and a half away to experience that.
If you'd like to find out more about this kaupapa, visit their Facebook page, Tauranga Te Reo, our Te Reo friendly city. Coming up after the break, the Waikato Pistons. Welcome back to Central News. Head coach of the Waikato Pistons, Pero Cameron, is a busy man. Not only is he coaching the Pistons as they hope to make the playoffs for the NBL, he is also involved with coaching younger players. Anne-Marie caught up with him recently and asked about his involvement with the High Performance Academy for youth rep players.
Yeah, it's we identify kids that are in the rep team or on the fringe, and we get them coming along around 6 in the morning to the YMCA or a DIO boys group and then a girls group, and we do it twice a week for the boys, twice for the girls, and we just work on their skills, things that we feel they need to improve, and their strengths we try to make them better as well. Shooting, passing, dribbling, and it's pretty good. The first month we had 40, and it is staying around that number, which is great. And you see a lot of interest, and the parents are supporting it, and you can see them all there and taking notes and watching, and we try to give them something different all the time, but we analyse and tell them all what they need to improve on if they want the basketball to be their sport.
You're also running skills days for the younger players as well, such as the under-11s. Why are this so important to you?
Yeah, it's, when I was a kid, I was pretty passionate about the sport. Very lucky enough that my mum was a basketballer, my dad was a league player, and I loved sport. I loved it for a lot of reasons, friends and getting out of the house. But, you know, at that age, kids are wondering where they put themselves, what they want to do. And, you know, basketball is such a sport. You learn all the skills and it transfers to all other sports. But, you know, the skills days are kind of a fun day, but also it identifies kids later for the under 13s and 15s because they have the rep teams for provincial and also national teams at 15s. So we got to try and find them early. And, you know, basketball's great.
You're 9 games into the season. How are you enjoying the coaching role?
Yeah, it's we're 4-3, and we got a tough schedule ahead. We've got 2 double headers in the next 2 weekends, and I'm liking it. But you know, the learning process is tough for younger, inexperienced guys, and it's a race. You know, because in 6-7 weeks it's all over. You know, and then it's about building upon this year for next year, and it's tough. You know, but again, tough challenge, and I like challenges, and you got to meet it with a lot of kind of joy, and you know, everybody likes a challenge, I feel.
Are you enjoying being back in the Waikato?
Yeah, I'm loving being back in the Waikato. It's a little bit cold at the moment, a bit different than a couple of months ago when it was very hot. But you know, it's about recruiting and developing young players that you don't have to recruit outside the area in the future. You know, at the moment we've got some Aucklanders down here helping us, and you know, some Waikato kids, but we've got some young ones, and hopefully they'll come through.
Big game this Thursday, back at home at Hamilton Boys High School, 7 p.m. against the Southland Sharks. Are you looking forward to it?
I am. You know, Sharks are a tough team. They've got a pretty good record, and any time they come into town, or any town, they're last year's champions from last year, so it's going to be tough, and we look forward to the challenge.
Make sure you head along to the Hamilton Boys High School gym on Thursday night to see the Waikato Pistons take on the defending champs, the Southland Sharks. Tickets are available at the door and tip-off is at 7 p.m. Now for our region's weather for Wednesday. Hamilton, cloudy, late drizzle expected and northwesterlies. Your expected high is 18 and 7. The rest of the Waikato, drizzle developing, turning to rain in the evening. The northwesterly picking up, turning to a southwesterly overnight. Paeroa 19 and 6, Matamata 16 and 6, Te Awamutu 18 and 7, Tokoroa 15 and 6. Tauranga, sunny spells with westerly and an expected high of 19 and an overnight low of 10. Te Puke, cloudy periods with the westerlies freshening. Your expected highs are 17 and an overnight low of 9. That is Central News for today. We'd love to hear your feedback. So like us on Facebook or email us at news@tvcentral.co.nz. Annie will be here tomorrow night bringing more stories from the Bay and the Waikato. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.